Happy Monday, everyone. This is the George here. And yes, I know I'm doing the stream Monday night, not on the weekend like I've been wanting to do my streams, but the news broke last night. It was late last night, and I felt like I needed to talk about this. The writer's strike, a new deal has finally been reached after many months of picketing, many months of going on strike, frustrations being brought out. So it's been a very interesting last few days. Both the writers and the AMPTP, who represents the studios, have been meeting. At one point on Saturday night, there were talks that this could be the last and best offer the studios can make, which is kind of weird to say because obviously that's up to the WGA to decide what's best for them, what's the best deal for them. If it doesn't address all their concerns, obviously they wouldn't take it, but it must have because they accept it. Now they did. Now this news did break very late yesterday. It was like I think after 10. This news broke. I don't know. I was watching a movie last night, and during the movie, well, actually, it was after the movie that I went and checked on Twitter, and I saw that the news had broken out that a new deal has been made. So that's right. We're going to be talking about the Riot Strike deal, what we know about if all the concerns have been addressed, and could the actor strike be next, and what could this mean? Now, before we get into this, please subscribe if you haven't already, and please like this stream. So, without further ado, we're going to get into it, and I'm just going to send this out. So while I'm doing that, make sure I got all my articles ready to talk about. I should. Also, tonight I might talk about Martin Scorsese's recent comments on movie franchises, specifically comic book movies, because it seems like it's riling up people. And honestly, I don't quite understand why. I mean, to be fair, he makes some good points, but we'll get into that later. So I'm just sending out StreamYard links if for anyone that might want to hop on. If not, that's okay. But tonight, this will probably be at least 2 hours. I don't want to go on for 3 hours tonight. So, yesterday, as I said, the news broke out that a deal has been reached. And I'm going to bring it up. I should have had it up already, but I'm going to bring it up. Let's see. So, I picked the Deadline article. Okay, so it's a deal. WGA and AMPTP reached tentative agreement and writer's strike. Picketing has been suspended. Actually, this news broke out at 7:16 p.m., but I didn't see it until after 10. So, the Writers Guild has reached a tentative agreement with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers to end its strike after nearly 5 months. So, let's remember this strike began at the beginning of May. It was May 2nd. This strike has been going on for, and we are almost done with September. So, we've gotten after May, June, July, August, and September. So this has been going on for almost 5 months now. All right, back to reading. The parties finalized the framework of the deal Sunday when they were able to untangle their stalemate over AI and Riot Room staffing levels. The WGA and AMPTP have reached a tentative agreement. The WGA and the AMPTP said in a joint statement this evening. They reached a tentative agreement on a new 2023 MBA, which is to say an agreement in principle on all points, subject to drafting final contract language. The WGA told its members in a release, which came just after sunset and the start of the Yom Kippur holiday, that many had seen deadline to wrap up a deal after 5 days of long negotiations. Now, I remember a lot of people were thinking that news wasn't going to break out until after Yom Kippur. that was something that I think a lot of people were thinking, because some people that might be in the Writers Guild and on the AMPTP could be celebrating Yom Kippur. So I was kind of surprised that it came as soon as Sunday night. But let's keep on going. Scroll down. So the details haven't been quite released, but will be revealed by the guild in advance of the membership ratification vote. So we still got there still has to be a ratification vote. So next steps in process, we'll see the Alan Sutzman led WGA negotiating committee vote on whether to recommend the agreement and send it to WGAW board and WGAE council for approval, and votes tentatively scheduled for Tuesday. The guild said tonight. This was written yesterday, not actually tonight. Another vote by the respective board and council could lift the strike restraining order and allow scribes to return to work during the ratification vote. A big deal for both the WGA and the studios. Pending those votes, the WGA told its members that it is still on strike, and that all picketing is hereby suspended. Okay, so picketing suspended. So now let's make something clear. People are not rioting just yet. A lot of this stuff has to be ratified. However, based on how ratification can go, writers could go back to work sooner than later. Hopefully that's the case. Now let's remember, a lot of things haven't even started filming yet because of this, because the writers went on strike. Now some things were allowed to continue during the writer's strike, certain movies and shows, but some things couldn't. For example, you look at Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai paused filming, not during the actor strike, but during the writer strike, because they were still writing it as the season was going. Thunderbolts, one of the upcoming MCU movies, supposed to come out next year, could not film because they were still writing it. Deadpool 3 and Captain America Brave New World, were allowed to continue because they were already written. However, for Deadpool 3, Ryan Reynolds could not improvise some of his lines. So obviously, a lot of stuff is getting back to work. Well, we'll hopefully go back to work, at least on the writer side things. Tom Holland's fourth Spider-Man movie. They were in the middle of writing that for the strike. Once they're allowed to continue writing, we can see more progress being made with that. But let's also remember that this strike was affecting a lot of things. It wasn't just affecting movies and our TV series. The writer strike was obviously affecting some talk shows. If you recall, in one of my previous streams, we were talking about Drew Barrymore and Bill Maher were about to continue their shows, but the WGA was going to picket their shows, and they decided to delay their shows coming out or hosting new shows. Dancing with the Stars has also been another one that's been affected. And what's up, Sideways 52? Where, some of the performers, I'm trying to think who was it. I'm going to look that up real quick. People were threatening to not compete on Dancing with the Stars because of the strikes. I'm going to look up and see which one that was. What star? I know someone was Matt Walsh. He walked out of rehearsals due to the writer strike. Now, this could help push Dancing with the Stars to continue. But we also know that a lot of the late shows were not continuing. Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Stephen Colbert, they were also on pause. Now, let's also remember that an actor strike is still happening. So even when those shows come back, stars cannot go on those shows to promote their work. We will get more into what can happen with the actors in just a moment. But let's be aware of what is happening and what can continue and what is likely to continue with the writer's strike wrapping up. But again, before people can get back to the writing board, these got to be ratified. Now, I think they're going to be ratified. It seems like this is a deal that the WGA is proud of, or at least the negotiators are proud of. At the same time, I don't know how the ratification vote's going to go because there could be some members that might not think this is the best possible deal. Now, again, the full details have not been released, so we can't determine for ourselves if they're good or not. But we're going to keep on going. So, virtual discussions began mid-afternoon between negotiating committees for the WGA and the AMPTP, along with the fine-tuning on issues like AI and staffing. One element of some continuing dispute today was around back to work schedules and protocols. The studios also inquired if, once a tenement agreement is ratified by the scribes, if the writers would pick up their pens and hit their keyboards again very soon. The guild, from what we understand, made the request that their members not return to work until SAG-AFTRA also had an agreement with the AMPTP, reflective of the WGA's feelings of solidarity between the two unions that has characterized their mutual strikes since 1960. It seems the pathway to split the difference was found. Okay, so obviously they're gonna probably wait until something's done with the actors, because this was one of those rare occurrences where both groups have been striking. Now, that part I did not know about just yet. So that kind of makes sense. And what's up, Jeffrey Miller? Good to see you. Because if you recall, that 1960 was the last time these groups have gone on strike at the same time. With all that, it will take a few days for the strike to be officially over as the WGA West and WGA East proceed with the ratification process. During the WGA's last strike in 2007-2008, a tentative agreement was reached on the 96th day, and it wasn't over until the 100th. So that's what people also got to understand. That ratification does take a few days to happen. So don't think that just because the deal was agreed to last night that all of a sudden people were going back to work writing scripts down. That's not what happened. No, they're gonna wait. First, they got to ratify this, and hopefully something happens with SAG and the studios. And I think the studios are being pushed in a desperate corner to get stuff done, especially because we're getting closer to November, where we got some movies that the studios are obviously going to want their big actors to promote. For the Marvels, you're going to want Brie Larson to promote that movie and all the other stars in that movie. For the Hunger Games, the Ballad of Songbirds, you obviously are going to want Rachel Zegler and the other stars to promote that movie. When Wonka comes out in December, you're going to obviously want Timothée Chalamet. Aquaman, you're going to want Jason Momoa to promote that, especially because who knows what the box office numbers can be for Aquaman. It could be a bust. Maybe it won't be a bust. Remember, they delayed Dune Part 2, not because of the writer's strike. They delayed it because of the actor strike. They wanted the actors to promote that movie, and the fear was that a deal was not going to happen by the time that movie comes out. And you got to remember, that movie's got quite a few stars in it. You got Timothée Chalamet, you got Zendaya, you got Florence Pugh, you got Austin Butler, Dave Bautista. You got a bunch of stars in that movie that you're going to want promoting it, especially because you're having it come out in a competitive month. Now, again, I think Dune Part 2 was going to be the best movie out of those three anticipated movies, the Marvels, Dune Part 2, and Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds. But let's also recognize that just because it's the best movie doesn't mean it's going to make the most money. Now, I saw both Barbie and Oppenheimer, and I loved both movies, but Oppenheimer was a way better movie than Barbie. But yet Barbie is breaking all these records and made a ton of money. Now, Oppenheimer made over $900 million worldwide, but it didn't make $1 billion like Barbie did. Now, again, film is subjective. Maybe some people thought Barbie was better than Oppenheimer. I disagree with that. But we've also seen this many times where not the best movie always makes the most money. Having said that, though, back to the strike. We also have Killers of the Flower Moon coming out in October with Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, and obviously that's a Martin Scorsese movie. They're gonna want the stars to probably promote that. But back to the arc. The first shows to shut down when the current WGA strike began on May 2nd, late night comedy shows and daytime talk shows will be able to return to air almost immediately because SAG-AFTRA's ongoing strike doesn't include them as strike productions. Reminder, while those shows can continue, actors cannot go on those shows to promote their work. That's one of the things when you go on strike. It's not just about filming stuff. You can't promote the upcoming movies and shows that you're going to be in. Once the SAG deal is done, then actors can promote their stuff again. But let's remember that even though the late shows can continue, actors cannot promote their stuff. So now all attention will now turn. Wait, hold on. I skipped it. Films and scripted TV shows that didn't sign interim agreements with SAG-AFTRA will remain dark until that strike is settled as well. Let's also a reminder: not every movie and show is on strike. For some, like movies being made by A24, they are allowed to continue. Obviously, it is mostly the movies and shows. Well, movies and shows that are under the AMPTP. So stuff from Netflix, Disney, NBC Universal, Warner Brothers Discovery, the big studios, actors cannot work on that stuff. They are allowed to work on the A24 stuff. That's if they want to, because there's a good chance that some of those actors might be striking in solidarity with their friends who are in these bigger movies. I honestly don't know if any of those movies coming out from A24 and other small studios have been on pause, if the actors have been on strike. If you know about that, let me know in the comments below or the chat below. So, all attention will now turn to ratifying the WGA deal and getting SAG-AFTRA and the AMPTP back to the bargaining table to work out a deal to end the actor strike, which has now been going on for 73 days. It doesn't feel like 73 days, but then again, I don't know. I know it was 2 months ago they started going on strike, but it just feels like a lot of time has passed in 2 months. So that's probably why it feels like a long time. It was like right before Oppenheimer and Barbie came out that the actors went on strike. Let's just remember that, because if you recall, the actors left the Oppenheimer premiere in solidarity. Now, that really didn't affect that movie's box office. But here's the thing. With Barbie and Oppenheimer, enough promotion was done before the strike began to basically solidify that movie's box office. There was a lot of promotion that got done. So Hollywood and the entertainment industry can breathe just a little easier, but the economists estimate that the dual WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes have cost California's economy some $5 billion. Let's remember something. These strikes have also did put some people out of work. Some people were not working, people who were working on costume design, on production, which sucks. It sucks when you're out of a job, when you're not working because of strikes. At the same time, however, these strikes did need to happen because how these writers were treated unfairly. I've repeated this before, but for anyone who has not watched my previous streams when I've discussed this, who have not heard me on other streams when I've been talking about this with other friends on streams like Aaron World Order, basically, when it comes to writing stories, it takes time. When you're writing anything, it takes a lot of time. Because you're brainstorming, you're outlining your story. Now, I don't know how every actor writes. Maybe every actor is different, but I know for me, if I'm coming up with something or writing anything, you obviously outline, you think of a beginning, middle, and end, and then you start your first draft. And again, a first draft doesn't always mean it's going to make it to the final draft. When James Gunn submitted his Superman legacy script before the writer's strike. I'm pretty sure that was a rough draft. That was a first draft. He's obviously probably going to add more to it once he's allowed to start writing again. It's the same thing with everyone else. You start a first draft, you make some tweaks to it, then you got another draft, and then you make a final draft. And remember, a lot of these movies and shows do go through reshoots, sometimes months before the movie. And reshoots sometimes add stuff. You also got to make a decision as to whether or not you got to cut stuff out. A lot of times people will write big scripts and stories that don't make it to the final draft. Sometimes they film this stuff, but then they got to make a decision as to what to cut out. But again, there's a lot that goes into writing. Now, I don't know how much time every writer puts into writing something per day. Sometimes people might do 8 hours of writing per day. Maybe some do 1 day, 2 hours, then 10 hours the next day. I honestly don't know. I'm not a Hollywood writer. But I do know that they can dedicate a lot of time. These scripts can go from weeks to months of writing. And we see what happens when you make a rushed script. What happens? Transformers Revenge of the Fallen is the example I love to use. This is a movie whose script got rushed. That was actually because of the writer's strike of 2007. And we saw what happened with that movie. And they obviously didn't tweak it a whole lot once the writer's strike ended back then. Another example of a rush writing product was the 2016 Suicide Squad movie. Now, I know in this community, we talk about the DCEU quite a lot. Sometimes we talk about a bit too much, but I think we got to bring up the 2016 Suicide Squad movie. Because this was a movie that was rushed. I think it only had 6 weeks to write. And we saw what happened with the final product. And I think that's going to be a concern once these strikes are over and things can get back to filming. Now, I do see some studios delaying some of their projects, even as these strikes are coming to an end, because obviously you might need some more time. I think the Thunderbolts is going to come out in 2025. I don't think it's going to come out December 2024, because the fact is they didn't get a story done where they can start filming the product before the actor strike got done. Now, Deadpool 3 could possibly still come out in 2024 because at least they got half that movie done. Beetlejuice 2, as I said in my last stream, can probably still come out in 2024 because according to Tim Burton, that movie's 99 or 98% done filming. Because they got a lot of it done, once the actor strike is over, they probably only need a few days depending on if the actors are available to film what scenes they still need to film. And by the way, I'm just gonna pause it right now because I need to charge my laptop. My battery's starting to go, so I'm gonna take care of that. But just remember that with all this, even if the actor strike is done, and hey, Anthony Beltry, what's going on? There's still a good chance that things could get delayed. All right. Let me see what else is being brought up after this economy part. Okay, so this is the WGA's message to members tonight. I'm going to read it soon. All right, so dear members, we have reached a tentative agreement on a new 2023 NBA, which is to say an agreement in principle on all deal points subject to drafting final contract language. What we have won in this contract, most particularly everything we have gained since May 2nd, is due to the willingness of this membership to exercise its power, to demonstrate its solidarity, to walk side by side, to endure the pain and uncertainty of the past 146 days. It is the leverage generated by your strike, in concert with the extraordinary support of our union siblings, that finally brought the companies back to the table to make a deal. We can say with great pride that this deal is exceptional, with meaningful games and protections for riders in every sector of the membership. Okay. What remains now is for our staff to make sure everything we have agreed to is codified in final contract language. And though we are eager to share the details of what has been achieved with you, we cannot do that until the last I is dotted. To do so would complicate our ability to finish the job. So, as you have been patient with us before, we ask you to be patient again one last time. Just a reminder, things got to be ratified. Once the memorandum of agreement with the AMPTP is complete, the negotiating committee will vote on whether to recommend the agreement and send it to the WGAW board and WGAE council for approval. The board and council will then vote on whether to authorize a contract ratification vote by the membership. If that authorization is approved, the board and council will also vote on whether to lift the restraining order and end the strike at a certain date and time to be determined pending ratification. This would allow riders to return to work during the ratification vote, but would not affect the membership's right to make a final determination on contract approval. Immediately after those leadership votes, which are tentatively scheduled for Tuesday, if the language is settled, we will provide a comprehensive summary of the deal points and the memorandum of agreement. We will also convene meetings where members will have the opportunity to learn more about and assess the deal before voting on ratification. To be clear, no one's returned to work until specifically authorized to by the Guild. We are still on strike until then, but we are, as of today, suspending WGA picketing. Instead, if you're able, we encourage you to join SAG-AFTRA picket lines this week. Oh, that's very interesting. They're also encouraging people to join the SAG-AFTRA picket lines. Finally, we appreciated your patience as you waited for news from us and had to fend off rumors during the last few days of the negotiation. Now, let's remember something that happened on Saturday night. Yes, Anthony, they are going to vote on this tomorrow. Something broke out. I think it was the Hollywood Reporter or Los Angeles Times. I can't remember. It was the AMPTP offered their best and last offer. Now, I don't know if that was just leaked out to intimidate the WGA to accept the deal. I'm not too sure. Obviously, the rumors being that deal can get done by Tuesday after Yom Kippur. Before Saturday, who knows? But it seems like things are starting to come back to normal. Okay, so that's it. Okay, and this also leads to what I was talking about before. As I was saying before, I don't know if anyone cares about Dancing with the Stars around here, but I did bring up how Dancing with the Stars almost got delayed because of the WGA strike. Remember, actor Matt Walsh was going to walk off. So ABC will proceed as planned with the September 26th premiere of Dancing with the Stars in light of WGA and the studios reaching a tentative agreement Sunday night. The reality competition will kick off its 32nd season with its full celebrity cast, including Veep star Matt Walsh, a dual SAG-AFTRA and WGA member who last Thursday paused his involvement in the show. With the hopeful resolution and vote with the WGA, Dancing with the Stars will no longer be a struck show, therefore all cast will be able to return. This includes WGA member Matt Walsh, a rep for the actor said in a statement Monday. Actually, not today. I remember Dancing with the Stars used to be on Mondays. So, the network last Thursday was put in place plans to postpone Dancing with the Star returns actors, and its celebrity cast, particularly Walsh, Allison Hannigan, and Mira Sorvino, came under pressure from striking WGA members. Last week, WGA picketers targeted multiple rehearsals for Dancing with the Stars, which is a WGA signatory that typically employs one writer to pen talking points for the hosts. Yeah, but we still gotta wait for the actors, and we're gonna look more into that after I look at this. So, following the tentative deal with the studios, all WGA picketing was suspended Sunday night. So, variety shows like Dancing with the Stars are covered under the SAG-AFTRA National Code Fair Practice for Network Television Broadcast, better known as Network Code. It is separate to the Film and TV Collective Bargaining Agreement that SAG-AFTRA and the AMPTP negotiated unsuccessfully in the spring and early summer, leading to the current actor strike. Because of that, ABC is allowed to put on Dancing with the Stars, and SAG-AFTRA members are allowed to participate. In fact, SAG-AFTRA last week backed actors who are appearing on the show, knowing that they are not in violation of strike rules and are required to go to work. It is the show's WGA affiliation via the employment of one writer out of 500 crew members that made it a struck production. Yikes! So it was just because of one writer, they were going to picket that show, which is very interesting. I'm not saying like that shouldn't have happened, but wow, they are really trying to look out for these writers. Props to them. So, season 32 marks the return of Dancing with the Stars to ABC. The show aired last season on Disney Plus, and the new season will simulcast live on Disney Plus and be available next day on Hulu. And that is, I'm gonna take a break from reading that. So, progress is being made. That's good to see. Hopefully, something happens with the actors. Now, we're going to look into that. That's actually going to be my next article that I'm going to read. And we'll also see if there's been any progress on the actor side of things. Okay. So, I know this is from One Take News. Now that the WGA strike is all but over, when is SAG-AFTRA's turn? After 146 days, the WGA and AMPTP finally came to a tentative agreement that will writers get the fair play and compensation that they deserve. With the writers expected to be back to work in mid-October, all eyes turn to the actors. They've been on strike for 73 days, and everyone asking the same question: when will actors get fair pay and treatment? Now, well, it could be sooner than we thought. Sources have indicated to OTN One Take News that getting a deal done with the WGA was the key for discussions with SAG-AFTRA to even be considered. Deadline kind of brought that up, how they wanted SAG to get a deal done to continue. The unions actually share quite a few problems in common, and it is expected that the SAG-AFTRA and the AMPTP will use some of the terms for the WGA as a template and foundation for a new deal. I know AI is one of those things they have in common. I'm glad the writers seemingly got everything they wanted. Yep, that's true. Obviously, one of the big concerns that both sides have is the use of AI. Now, the writers' deal, apparently, we don't know the full details, but apparently the concern of AI was addressed there. Hopefully. And obviously, I think that's actually been a bigger concern, I think, for SAG, because of the whole likeness rights situation. So let's get back to reading this. No talks have been scheduled between the two guilds yet. However, it is understood that there is a sense of urgency from the studios as they can no longer afford to wait any longer. That is true. Between studios losing out on money, upcoming movies coming out where they are going to want the stars to promote the stuff, TV seasons are beginning real soon. They obviously are going to want their actors to get back to work as soon as possible. Now, I don't know how true this one is. The two unions could begin talks as early as tomorrow, and while extremely unlikely, maybe have a deal by the end of the week if all goes well. Now, this is where I don't know how true this is, because I have not heard any statements from Fran Drescher, who is the president of the Actors Union, or any other union members say talks could be happening. I don't know if they're going to begin this week. I think the focus for this week is going to be on ratifying the writers. That's, I think, is going to be the main focus. Let's keep going. Studios are banking on a deal being done in time for their fall releases to get promo tours from their actors. Like I said, while it's not guaranteed, the first films to have fall press junkets and premieres with actors will likely be The Marvels in the Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. For this to happen, a deal will ideally be done by October 22nd. That's like less than a month, not in a week at the latest, and hope that once the tentative deal is reached, SAG-AFTRA will ease up on their no promo rule. If they don't ease up on the rule, a deal will have to be done a week earlier on October 15th, the latest. It is unknown if the studios will still have prepping press junkets and tours in the events the strike ends in time. However, there is a hiccup. And this is something I really haven't addressed on my streams. As early as tomorrow, the video game industry can join SAG-AFTRA in their strike and possibly affect deals for the union as a whole, should President Fran Drescher choose to fight for both unions at the same time. The strike could potentially last longer than originally expected. The scenario seems unlikely as the majority of studios have investor calls coming up for fiscal years and will likely want the strike done in under 20 days. Until SAG-AFTRA ends, we will continue to support them as actors fight for their pay and compensation they deserve. So I'm going to see if Fran Drescher has actually made any, or SAG has addressed anything. Okay, so I'm going to take down this one right here, and I'm going to put up this article from CNN. Hold on. What am I doing? Okay, get rid of that screen. After streaming for a year, I thought I'd be getting the hang of this. But then again, I also take some long pauses from streaming. Okay, no CNN, I don't want that. So this is from CNN Business. Now that the Writers Guild of America has reached a tentative agreement with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, the trade association representing major Hollywood studios, all eyes have turned towards the SAG-AFTRA, the union representing more than 160,000 actors. Let's just remember, this is mostly about the smaller actors. Not every single 160,000 person that's in this union is a big name actor like Tom Cruise, Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., Angelina Jolie, Leonardo DiCaprio, and so forth. There are some that are smaller time actors who only work on selected projects. These actors can include people that might only work on Kevin Smith projects, such as Jeff Anderson, Brian O'Halloran, Marilyn Gigliotti, the Clerks crew. It could mean some actors who have not been working for a while. Remember, it was like 4 years until Tobey Maguire was in a movie, which was Spider-Man No Way Home. Before that, the last role he had, I'm pretty sure, was a voice role in The Boss Baby. So some actors also take a while to get back to work, whether it be 4 years. Sometimes it's an even longer time for some actors to get back to work. Brendan Fraser, for a long time, couldn't get some work. Now he's starting to get work. So let's just keep that in mind for people who are saying, oh, well, actors, Hollywood actors, they're going to be fine. It's like maybe the big name actors, but not the smaller name actors who are still trying to make it in. So while late night and talk Programs like The Tonight Show and The Talk can return once the WGA deal is ratified by our rank and file union members. The Hollywood machine cannot fully function until the AMPTP resolves its dispute with the Actors Union. So, the tentative WGA deal increases pressure on SAG-AFTRA to reach an agreement along the same lines, although the Actors Union still has enough leverage to keep productions shut down. The studio's resolution with WGA will likely pave the way for a deal with SAG-AFTRA within the next few weeks. So, the key issues will likely be resolved by late October, if not sooner, said Tom Newman, a former television producer, executive, and film producer. Historically, the Writers Guild has been at the forefront when it comes to protecting artists as the industry evolves and transforms. The Writers Guild is going to fight the big fight, and the actors will use the gains writers made and customize them for their needs. So SAG-AFTRA has been on strike since July 14, joined the fray a little more than 2 months after the writers began strike. So remember, during that time, some films were movies were able to be filmed because those scripts got done. That included Deadpool 3, Beetlejuice 2, Captain America Brave New Order. Let's also remember that some movies did get done before the strike also happened. Movies like Joker 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So since then, the two unions seem to operate in lockstep with one another. In a statement posted Sunday on social media site, no, I'm going to call it Twitter. Screw it. I'm never going to call that site that ugly name. It's Twitter. It's always going to be Twitter. Suck it, Elon Musk. The Actors Union congratulated their union sibling who served on the WGA negotiating committee. We applaud your dedication, diligence, and unwavering solidarity over the last 5 months and are proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with you as creative partners in the entertainment industry. The statement continued. That was actually another concern that I have that was also starting to have on Saturday. Now, I was talking about this with Aaron from Aaron World Order on his stream Saturday night. We're talking about what if, there's a chance that it's a very close ratification vote. That's like a slim majority agree, but there's still a big enough minority of voters that are kind of that are not happy with this. I was starting to get concerned that this deal, because of what some of the stuff that was getting leaked out, like this being the best and last offer, could divide WGA members, and that union could be very divided. But they stood in solidarity. Now we got to see how the ratification vote goes. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that'd be cool. We look forward to reviewing the terms of the WGA and AMPTP's tentative agreement and remain ready to resume our own negotiations with the AMPTP as soon as they are prepared to engage on our proposals in a meaningful way. So their proposals are similar to the WGA, particularly when it comes to AI and residual payments from streaming services for their work. A major issue for the Actors Union is a wage increase of 11% in the first year of the proposed contract term, while the studios have only agreed to a 5% pay raise. That's going to be very interesting. The union is also seeking improved relocation expenses for productions that require actors to work out of state or country, as well as limited long breaks between television seasons, in order to give actors more certainty and stability while they work. Let's remember that these actors are still human beings. They still got families, they got kids, they got lives outside of work. It would make sense. After you work hard on a movie, on a television show, you want some downtime, you want to spend some time with your kids, with your family, with your husband, your friends, your wife, whoever. So, to me, I don't think that's being too greedy, just asking for some more, time in between projects. So SAG-AFTRA and the AMPTP have not responded to CNN's request for comment. According to Newman, talks with the WGA will likely make studios more amenable to collaborative talks with SAG-AFTRA. He also notes that the economic winds have shifted to where the strike no longer benefits management. That's the thing. This is not helping them. because the actors are not promoting stuff, some people might not be as aware of these movies or knowing who's going to be in the movies, especially if they don't watch trailers. Because like people are not working, costume designers, tech people, whoever, because things are not filming, people are out of work. The writers have been out of work since May, so obviously this has been a big economic hurdle. It's pretty startling to realize that studios only need 5 days to wrap this up after we waited 150 days. One has to look at the situation and ask, do the studios want this to happen? What short term benefits were they getting, said Noonan. They were really in the red and they needed to pull back in contract. So, in many ways, the strike played right in the media company's hands because we were able to incur tremendous savings. They knew if they could sweat out a strike, they would make Wall Street very happy. Studios also count on a huge economic boom once the strikes are eventually resolved. Once both unions have ratified their respective agreements, there will be an intense scramble as the production pipeline is unclogged. Everyone needs to stock up on their Advil and Aleve, said Newman. It's going to create a massive series of headaches for folks who are clamoring for the same crews, personnel, and actors. It's going to be a tidal wave of production demands that will really pick up in early 2024 after the holidays. I'm just going to remind people that one of the projects that's supposed to start production in early 2024, January 2024, is Superman Legacy. Now, I do want to look into the video game thing. So I'm going to take this down and I'm going to see, because that's actually getting me interested. I want to know what's going on with that. Okay, I'm finding something that's explaining it. Sorry for the silence. Because I mean, I've heard of it. I haven't really gone into detail. I don't think I talked about this on other streams. I maybe we might have mentioned this on my friend Aaron's stream, but outside of that, I don't know. Okay, so this is the first article that I found on it. As the WGA writer strike looks set to end, a massive video game strike could be just around the corner. We speak to the actors behind some of the year's biggest games on why a strike could be on the cards. So it is not a controversial stance to believe that you, as an actor, own your own voice. However, this belief is at the center of what could be a second major video game voice actor strike, the second such strike in a decade. Now let's remind everyone that there was a strike this decade. On September 1st, SAG-AFTRA announced its decision to seek strike authorization from voice actor artists it represents. If approved, SAG-AFTRA will seek a powerful tool as it re-enters negotiations with video game giants, including EA, Activision, and Insomniac. A tool that proved viable for WGA writers that struck a tentative deal early this morning and essential for voice actors back in 2016. With deadline on the vote looming later today, we spoke to actors from some of the most popular games this year about why we believe now is time to take a stand. So Alan Lee, who is a voice actor in Mortal Kombat, wanted to do this sooner. And one of his concerns is AI. And he is one of the main actors that don't consent for his voice to be used in the AI project. Voice actor for Shadowheart, Jennifer English. She has her own concerns as well. And Mara Stevek also agrees. She's from Five Nights at Freddy's. When you hear your voice say something you never would say, but it's your voice. It's so real. You feel such a profound feeling of violation. It's hard to describe how violated I felt when I heard it. And obviously, the key issue is consent. So, one of the actors, Sunil Malhotra. I'm not good with names. I suck at names. Sorry. So he summed up the AI issue. Right now, without protections, it is very possible that a few things will happen. Publishers will continue to use our work and labor to train their systems that will eventually put us out of work. That is true. That is unacceptable. We must own our voice, literally. You cannot just take our voice without our consent and compensation. Yeah, same. They got the same concerns. Speaking of compensations, that's another issue raised by actors that are considering strike action. Over the last few years, daily life has become increasingly expensive, with the U.S. suffering from cumulative inflation rates of roughly 25% since 2017, when the last voice actor strike ended. By the way, I'm having a cough drop, so I apologize if you hear me unwrapping it and if I sound funny. It costs more to get things, said Malhotra. It costs more to go to the grocery store. I went to Subway recently and I went, oh my God, it's so much more expensive now. Everything is. Our wages haven't gone up in accordance with inflation. The proposal we're asking for isn't even a raise, which we deserve. Publishers made $19 billion last year. We deserve a raise. Yeah, the economy is just crazy. I mean, come on now. Video games cost more money. Like video games are now what, like $69.99? They used to be $59.99. Um, Movie tickets have gotten more expensive. DVDs have gotten more expensive. Food's gotten more expensive. My mom's been paying a lot more whenever she goes and buys groceries from the store. Whenever I get food at a restaurant, I feel like prices have gone up. And I know people need to make their money, especially after the pandemic. But obviously, like with how things have gone, you would hope that people can get paid better in this situation. So Lee echoes this sentiment, emphasizing the impact residuals would have for voice actors. Yeah, instances where celebrities like Kevin Spacey are playing roles in video games. There's clearly a lot more money being made here. Video games are a multi-billion-dollar industry. A lot of people who are doing this are making a couple $1,000s, certainly less than $10,000 per project. And projects are hard to get. In fact, we don't have residuals to help us get from gig to gig is comically evil. Many voice actors resort to working multiple jobs, needing to work in other industries in order to make ends meet. Sylvette is one such example, currently working in a visual effects company alongside her voice acting work. With whatever I make in voiceover, I would living paycheck to paycheck. I'd just be able to live with the bare minimum in London. That is true. A lot of these video game voice actors have to find other means of work. I know some of them. I know some of them also do voice work on anime, but that's like their other means of getting money, dubbing for anime. Because some of them don't do regular voices for cartoons or movies. Some do. There's some that do, but there's just some that work mainly on video games. And unless they get a gig with anime, doing some dubbing for anime, or can get a voice role on a TV show, because there's a lot of voice actors in the business, and some actors that also do voice roles and do voice acting. It's hard to get other voice acting jobs. You can certainly make a living voiceover if you get enough commercial or corporate work and that kind of stuff. You won't be rich by any means, but you can make a living. Just voice acting on video games, it's not possible to make a living in this country. I don't know what just happened right there. I almost clicked an advertisement. They're saying when America sneezes, the whole country gets a cold. It works in a positive way as well. The U.S. gets very much the standard. I'm not going to read that whole thing. Whether or not a strike is on the cards will be revealed later today, giving negotiators on the actor side more bargaining power. But with the existential worries surrounding AI and untenable costs of living crisis resulting in mounting pressure for actors around the world, the battle for the voice of the video game industry may be about to kick off in earnest just as the world eyes start to turn away from the WGA. What's up, Ferris? So, it looks like the voice actors for video games could be joining soon. Now, here's another one kind of explaining what's going on with this whole thing. SAG-AFTRA video game performers are voting to authorize strike too. Yeah. Negotiations with video game companies will begin September 26th, which is tomorrow. On October 21st, 2016, video game performers went on strike against 11 video game companies, including Activision, Disney, Electronic Arts, Insomniac Games, Take-Two Interactive, and Warner Brothers Games. I'm going to be honest. I had no idea that this happened. I'm trying to remember why. It could be because I was so busy with college, because I was in college at the time. It could be the fact that this was also happening during that intense 2016 election cycle between Trump and Clinton, and all our eyes were focused on that. I don't know what it was. I just did not know. I had so many people just continue to invalidate people's concerns about AI when day by day it's proved it's literally unethical and even downright criminal. Do I think everything with AI is bad? No. But I feel like people need to put a limit on AI. There has to be some kind of limit to it. Now, I was playing around with an AI writing tool just to kind of give you an idea of what I was doing. I was creating like a MCU Spider-Man crossover with Kevin Smith's movies like Clerks and Dogma. And it kind of got what I was trying to say about stuff, but it didn't exactly deliver what I thought it could. I've said this before on my last stream. AI cannot write the funny, clever dialogue that Kevin Smith can write when it comes to his characters. There's no way that AI can write in the dialogue that Jay from Jay and Silent Bob can say, or the dialogue that Randall from the Clerks movies can say. There is no way that AI can make Spider-Man quips. AI art, especially, is a black box legally, and it's going to prove how exploitive it will be. Well, I know that's a story on Optimus Prime meets Superman. It was a weird story. The whole AI doing art, animation, voices are real scary. This new film about humans, AI called the creator, directed by Garth Edwards. Yeah, I'm planning on seeing it this weekend. It's one of my most anticipated movies. I can't wait to see it this weekend. And I'll probably do a review on it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that movie. No, the thing is that AI can obviously put artists away. And I know some people, I'm not going to say anything about, like, what people could be pro AI. The thing is, I do have concerns Same thing with writers. Artists take their time putting together their works of art. Whether you're like actually painting or drawing something or doing digital art, like computer art, it takes a while to create something. It's like with writing. And I think AI art, it's kind of just putting stuff together lazily. And here's the thing. Just because you can just type something up in a generator doesn't mean it's going to give you what you want. AI has its limits. That's what we got to remember. AI has its limits, and it lacks the imagination that human beings have. Just like how AI cannot write the funny dialogue that Kevin Smith can write, or the unique, clever dialogue that Christopher Nolan can write in one of his movies, AI art probably can't add the details that you want to something. For example, like could AI seriously, if you were to put Dragon Ball Z AI art, would it really put all that detail? Like Dragon Ball Z is one of the most detailed anime in my opinion. They put detail into the transformations, to the forms of Frieza. When the Z fighters are getting beat down and their clothes are starting to rip. The expressions, like the anime expression faces. Can AI really put that much detail that you see anime artists put in when they're making anime, whether it's Dragon Ball, Naruto, One Piece, Pokemon? Can AI really do that? Can AI be as detailed as some of these comic book writers? You gotta remember that they probably when Stan Lee was creating Spider-Man, he probably spent hours and days coming up with the perfect costume for Spider-Man until he settled for that classic red and blue that we all know and love. So let's also just remember that. Am I saying all of it's bad? No. I think if you're creating an original product, an original character, and you're trying to do rough drafts of pictures, maybe AI art could be good if you're creating your own product or own character and you need a startup, and then you take it a step further, adding your own ideas and your own spin. But outside of that, I think there's got to be limits. It's the same thing with writing. But I want to get back to this. I feel like I've gotten off track. So, but yeah, I feel bad though that I was not aware that they had a strike for video games. I must have been so preoccupied with college at the time. Yo, I can't believe it's been 7 years since 2016. I still remember how crazy of year 2016 was. It was on my first year of college. I was getting done my second and third semesters. I was adjusting to a lot. It was my first full year living in a new place. Then you had the election. It was me, getting used to doing a lot of stuff on my own. Oh, man, that was quite the time. A lot's happened since then. But back to this. Video game performers who were part of the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, also known as SAG-AFTRA, stopped working for nearly a year from October 2016 to November 2017, the longest strike in SAG-AFTRA history. After roughly 340 days, video game performers reached an agreement with a group of video game companies addressing concerns over pay, transparency, and vocal stress. The 3-year agreement was expected to expire in 2020, but the contract was extended to 2023 and into 2023. Was it mentioned? I don't know if it was, I don't think it was mentioned, but I know one thing about the writer's deal. Apparently, it was going to be a 3-year deal, so let's also recognize that. Hopefully, we're not in the same place with the writers in 3 years. But that was one of the things I remember because Because for those of you who don't know, I write for a site called The Movie Nerds. Some of you may know that, some of you don't. If you don't and want to check out the Movie Nerds site, I'll put the link in the chat so you can check it out. It's me and my friends. We write about some of our favorite movies. We write about movie history, actor history, and we write about movie reviews and news. But I'm writing an article about this stuff. I don't know when I'm going to get done with it. But basically, in the thing that I was looking at yesterday when I first started, it did say that it's going to be a 3-year deal. Now, hopefully tomorrow we learn more about it because I also want to add this stuff to my article. And by the way, I'm going to put the Movie Nerds site in the chat. So if you want to check it out, please check it out. Okay, so I'm going to see what Ferris has to say. Then I'm going to look at the other stuff. People can use AI to scam. I have a 2-year-old daughter. Me and my wife are thinking about opening a social media account for our daughter and seeing how AI evolves. We decide not to. Yeah, no, that's scary. I mean, I got younger cousins. One of them was in my chat a few weeks ago. Like, you can easily do image to image. It's like, I don't want people taking images of my family and doing that. Like, that's a scary thing to see. People can literally take anyone's image. Like, someone can take image of me and my friends and use AI art with it. People can AI art YouTubers. You know what I mean? They can AI art me, Aaron, DL, RJ. They can AI art us if they wanted to. That's a scary thing. And the thing is, it's you can just find a picture of us or whatever. So that's scary. That's actually to me the most scary thing, that you can just AI art anyone. There's pictures of so many celebrities that people can just AI art. People can just take people's art that's on the internet. You know how many Spider-Man comics that have been written in comics from the Stan Lee, Steve Ditko days, the John Romita Sr. days, and others that you can just AI, that people can just AI art or copy. Same thing with Batman, going back to over 80 years of Batman comics. That's just scary. And I don't know if there's copyright protection. That's just, yeah, that doesn't really sit right with me, honestly. I have done so much research into AI art. I mean, I am enraged and disgusted by what I have found. That's why I have and will continue to be against it. I know, Donovan, you're very much against it. I know you have strong disagreements with a certain YouTuber about, I'm not going to mention their name, but I know you have strong disagreements. I've even linked up with artists on Twitter, and man, they hate the idea of AI art even more. Some of them have been in the industry and have done their homework on it. It's disgusting. Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, for goodness sakes, this ad that's been blinking in front of me for a Warhaven. Someone can probably find a way to copy and paste this or whatever, or AI copy it if they wanted to. Okay, so back to the article. After 6 years, SAG-AFTRA members and at least 10 video game companies are heading back to the bargaining table once again on September 26th. And SAG-AFTRA is hoping to start the negotiations with a strike authorization in its hands. SAG-AFTRA said on September 1st, when its national board voted to authorize the strike vote, the video game companies haven't addressed issues about wages keeping up with inflation, nor have they introduced protections against AI use. And here's the thing to understand with AI voicing. I'm already seeing videos on YouTube of people doing AI voicing. There are parody videos out there where people are taking the voices of characters like SpongeBob, Goku, Mordecai from Regular Show, Plankton, and having them sing songs. Don't ask how. I discovered someone did an AI singing of George W. Bush, our 43rd president, singing the Green Day song "American Idiot." I mean, someone had actually AI'd George W. Bush's voice to sing. People have AI voiced SpongeBob, Tom Kenny's SpongeBob voice, to AI sing. I think the voice actor for Mordecai is J.G. Quinzel. I might be wrong. But they took that voice actor's voice and they AI programmed it to sing. You know, that's seeing that, like, honestly, like, I can't blame video game voice actors. I can't blame any voice actor, to be honest, for going on strike being concerned. Because in all honesty, I think, someone trying to AI someone's voice probably could be, that might be easier to pull off than AIing someone's likeness. Like, yikes. And look, I'm not trying to be all anti-AI here. But the thing is, people don't realize just how iffy and scary AI can be. I mean, look, these people that are having these voices singing on AI videos, they can easily have AI voice one of these voice actors into saying something they don't want to say, as I had mentioned in the previous article. For example, if you get, trying to think of a voice actor, Mark Hamill. You have you take Mark Hamill's voice, whether it be his version of his Joker voice or his Luke Skywalker voice or any voice that he's done. Like, you can easily have Mark Hamill say something stupid or something that's not true about him, or have him use curse words that he would probably not use in public or ever use at all. And like, it doesn't have to be just him. Someone can do the same thing. People, like, they can easily AI voice. I take Kevin Conroy's voice, like people who are dead. Kevin Conroy. It's going to be a year since Kevin Conroy died. Should we be concerned that they can take Kevin Conroy's voice without anyone knowing, without getting permission from any family he may have had or loved ones, and like taking that without their permission? It's like, let's just say they make a new Batman game in a few years and we hear Kevin Conroy's voice doing it. And look, he is the voice of Batman. He's the best voice for Batman. But you gotta let other people take over. The other people who can do the voice of Batman pretty good. Not as good as him, but they can do it pretty good. So I can't blame the video game voice actors. It's just crazy. So let's get back to this. A strike authorization vote doesn't mean that video game performers are definitely going on strike again. Instead, it signals to the group of video game companies negotiating with SAG-AFTRA that union members are serious about getting a fair contract, so serious that they're willing to withhold their labor for it if need be. Should SAG-AFTRA video game performers end up going on strike, though, they'll join colleagues striking for a new TV, theatrical, and streaming contract. Those SAG-AFTRA members, we already know this, they want to strike July 14th. And we also know yesterday, writer's strike got a deal. This is another example that I want to bring up. We got to remember that some of these voice actors, they're also performing in a way. Right. For example, for The Last of Us, in that image that I just showed, we see, I think her name's Ashley Johnson. Yeah, Ashley Johnson, the voice of Ellie. He's also, doing motion capture. So some of these voice actors are taking extra steps. I think Troy Baker, who's the voice of Joel, was also doing it as well. But again, like, a lot of these actors are doing the extra steps. And I don't even know how much they're getting paid for doing that. Sometimes when AI voice copy sometimes when an AI voice for voice copy tries to copy celebrities' voices that we recorded with our phones, sometimes it doesn't sound so accurate, and I've tried it. Yeah, no, when I was listening to some of those AI voice singings, sometimes it got exposed. Like there was an AI video out there of SpongeBob singing from My Chemical Romance, The Black Parade, and it's like there's a couple point parts where the AI just does not. It just goes off. It's just like it gets all screechy. It doesn't sound good. Like the voice just sounds off. So I think that's the thing. AI has its limits, and it doesn't, and it's not good. So, who qualifies under SAG-AFTRA video game performer contract? SAG-AFTRA as a whole represents approximately 160,000 people across TV, movies, media, commercial, and video games. As of 2016, 6,000 of those 160,000 union members did enough work on video games to vote on the 2016 strike authorization. The union's interactive media agreement covers video game performers who do voiceover, motion capture, and stunts, singing, dancing, puppeteering, and background performances. SAG-AFTRA's union structure is the same as other Hollywood unions, not like unions at video game companies themselves. Video game performers typically do contract work on several different projects across several different studios. For instance, video game voice actor Ashley Birch plays Aloy in Guerrilla Games' Horizon Zero Dawn, and Chloe Prince in Don't Nod's Life is Strange, but she isn't an employee of either of those companies. SAG-AFTRA standard contracts between those different companies and the voice actors contracted by them, whereas a traditional union represents employees from a single company. What companies is SAG-AFTRA negotiating with? So, Activision Production Inc., Blindlight LLC, Disney Character Voices Inc., Electronic Arts Production Inc., Epic Games, Formosa Interactive LLC, Insomniac Games, Take-Two Production, VoiceWorks Productions, and Warner Brother Games. Some of these companies are video game publishers and developers like Activision, Blizzard, Epic Games, Electronic Arts, Insomniac Games, and WB Games. Companies like Formosa and Blinded, owned by Keyword Studios, provide creative and production services to other studios, offering resources like art, studio, and other forms of assistance. Disney Character Voices, which is a subsidiary of the I am bad at pronunciations of the Walt Disney Company and Voice Work Production, specializes in casting and production for voiceover work. Oh yeah, I'm bad at pronunciations. I apologize. What's a strike authorization vote? In early September, SAG-AFTRA leadership asked its members to authorize a strike ahead of upcoming contract negotiations. Over the last few weeks, eligible SAG-AFTRA members have been casting votes ahead of the September 25th deadline. Deadline. What did I just say? The purpose of the vote is to see if union members are willing to strike if negotiations for the new contract go badly. SAG-AFTRA and the video game companies have extended the old contract for years now, and negotiations for the new one have been ongoing over that time. Those negotiations will resume again from September 26th to September 28th. Union leaders want the strike authorization in hand when the negotiations recommence to show the video game companies that the performers are serious about getting a fair contract. A successful strike authorization vote doesn't mean a strike will happen, but it means it could. And here's another example of, we're seeing more motion stunt work happening. What are the big issues? SAG-AFTRA members are looking for wage increases that keep up with inflation, 11% retroactive to expiration, and 4% increases in the second and third years of the agreement. Obviously, AI, we've gone over this so many times. It is a big threat, whether you are, especially for voice and performance capture. SAG-AFTRA is also looking to boost safety measures on set for on-camera and stunt performers, including a mandated 5-minute arrests each hour. That makes sense, something off-camera performers are already getting. The union is also calling for medics to be present on set for stunts or other hazardous work, as well as the contract to include protections against vocal stress and removal of any requirements for actors to perform stunts during self-tape auditions. Audrey Cooling, representing the video game companies, told Polygon that SAG-AFTRA and the companies have reached tentative agreements for more than half of the contract proposals. We will continue negotiating in good faith to reach an agreement that reflects the importance and contribution of SAG-AFTRA representing performers in video games. We have reached certain agreements on over half the proposals and are optimistic we can find a resolution at the bargaining table. So it sounds like that there's been more talks with the video game side of things than the Hollywood side of things, which is a positive. I will say that does sound like a positive. I think Texas is an AI hologram, but that's your opinion. If you think New York is an AI hologram, maybe I'm an AI. Maybe I'm an AI. If that's the logic, could Canada be an AI? Who knows? Back to this. When would the strike happen? How long will it last? Oh wait, I forgot to mention that the companies have failed to address several critical terms for the new contract. So the good news is that they have agreed on over half the proposals, but several critical terms have not been addressed. A strike may not happen. The best case scenario is SAG-AFTRA and the video game companies will agree on a fair contract and no strike will be necessary. For a strike to happen, several qualifications have to be met. First, the union leadership needs to initiate a strike authorization vote. This has already happened with SAG-AFTRA leadership unanimously agreed to ask members to participate in a strike authorization vote. So, SAG-AFTRA leadership then sent voting information cards to eligible members on September 5th with a voting deadline of September 25th. Members have been voting over this time to declare whether they'll be opening to striking should the need rise. If the majority of voters vote yes, then a strike will be authorized, but this doesn't mean that there will be a strike. The yes votes tell union leadership that members will be willing to strike, and negotiators can then take that to the bargaining table. Negotiations are scheduled for this week. If they go poorly, there's a chance that SAG-AFTRA will initiate a strike. I've been exposed. I am an AI. But then again, how would I say the clever dialogue that AI cannot say? For all I know, AI would have me say Dundo all the time instead of Isaac. Anyways, the last video game performance strike lasted for nearly a year as SAG-AFTRA and 11 companies struggled to agree on a contract. And I still can't believe I was not aware of that strike. 2016, between college, first presidential election I can vote in. Yikes. It's a huge deal for workers to withhold labor and to agree collectively not to work. A strike would have major impact on their lives, but that's also what makes it such a powerful tool. It's just how serious you members are about securing a failed deal. What does this mean for video games? Not much yet. Negotiations are ongoing, and it's possible that the video game companies will be able to meet SAG-AFTRA expectations of a fair contract. But if SAG-AFTRA video game performers go on strike, the impact will be different than that of the TV and movie actors and writer strike. Video game development takes a long, long time, typically much longer than your average TV show or movie takes to produce. Let's remember, it took many years. It took many years for us to get a Last of Us Part 2. Last of Us Part 1 came out in 2013. Part 2 came out in 2020. 7 years. Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. I don't think Nintendo's covered by any of this, but just remember, it took Nintendo 6 years to make a sequel to Breath of the Wild. It took 5 years for Marvel's Spider-Man 2 to come out. Yeah. Now, I know we got the Miles Morales game that came out as like the in-between. 3 years before Marvel Spider-Man 2 and 2 years after the first game. But again, it still kind of takes a while. I remember video games would come out like rapid fire. I'm pretty sure Majora's Mask came out like a year or two after Ocarina of Time. That was back then. Obviously, as video games have updated, graphics have updated, gameplay has updated. You can make these crazy overworlds. Um, it takes more time. I honestly don't know when we're gonna, if they do a Last of Us Part 3, when we're gonna see it. Oh wow. A potential strike could definitely disrupt parts of video game production, but it's unclear whether that would translate into significant delays on video game production timelines. There's a lot of development work to be done outside of performances and plenty to do to even get to that point. So I think like video games will like get to that point before the voice acting. Now I know there's some video games that are coming out. I know Marvel's Spider-Man 2 comes out in less than a month. So that should be fine. Let's see, is there anything else? No, nothing else. Okay. I think there's a good chance if the video game voice actors go on strike that that might actually push for a deal to get done quicker. I honestly don't know. But overall, I think it's good that the writer strike is being suspended. Hopefully ratification goes well. Hopefully we get more details. I ain't gonna do a stream on the details. Maybe next weekend when I once everything's ratified, I will maybe do a stream on it because I want to do these daily weekend streams. I know today's Monday. It's been a 3-day weekend for me because due to Yom Kippur, I get off on Monday, so it's been like a 3-day weekend for me. This feels like Sunday for some odd reason. But yeah, hopefully we get more details, and who knows, maybe this week we will get progress on the actor side of things. Yeah, I think that'd be a good thing, especially with these movies coming out. And I hate delays, especially because reminder, we just got done with delays due to COVID, due to shutdowns and stuff. Theaters were starting to bounce back with how Barbenheimer was making a ton of money. Okay, so I think that's it on the strikes for tonight. Um, One thing I will get into, maybe I'll look into other news that has happened before we conclude. I'm probably going to end around the 2 hours, maybe sooner. But I will get into what Martin Scorsese has said that's kind of riling people up. And I'm going to be honest, I don't really get why. So I'm going to find the article. Or I'm going to find an article discussing what Mr. Scorsese was talking about. Martin Scorsese, for those you don't know, he's one of my favorite directors. And the thing is, I don't want to overwhelm myself. Maybe one day I will review some Martin Scorsese movies, but I ain't gonna do a review series on Scorsese just yet. The Alfred Hitchcock one's just one of those rare ones where there's no movies coming out. I want to talk about older movies, share my love for them. Talk about other stuff. In the future, maybe I'll review some Martin Scorsese movies. And by the way, I'm not reviewing every single Alfred Hitchcock movie. I think I'm going to be doing one more review on Alfred Hitchcock this year, The Birds. And then next year, maybe I'll review some other Alfred Hitchcock movies. But let's get into what Martin Scorsese has said, because Martin Scorsese is riling up comic book movie fans. Martin Scorsese says we have to save cinema from franchise culture. The danger is what it's doing to our culture. Now, most people will say that this sounds like a boomer remark from Martin Scorsese. I mean, Martin Scorsese, he's an older guy. I think he's 80. Let me look that up real quick. In the business for a while. Yeah, 80 years old. He's going to be 81 in November. Been doing work for a while. Man, that gave us fantastic movies such as Goodfellas, Raging Bull, The Wolf of Wall Street, Gangs of New York, The Irishman, The Departed. Let's see what Martin Scorsese has to say. Martin Scorsese has made no secret of his feelings about comic book and franchise culture in the past, and he's speaking out again in a new profile with GQ. Speaking broadly about the impact of big movie franchises, Scorsese said, "The danger is what it's doing to our culture." What could this mean? There are going to be generations now that think movies are only those. That's what movies are, he said, with the interview continuing that they may already believe that. Now, it's no secret that some people are feeling franchise fatigue. There's some people who are feeling some Marvel fatigue. I know Guardians of the Galaxy just made a bunch of money, and that's a fantastic movie, by the way. But before that, Marvel wasn't exactly doing all that hot. I mean, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumanium didn't really make that much. Eternals, not so hot. I know Thor: Love and Thunder, while it did fine at the box office, it didn't get the best reviews from critics and fans. There's obviously some franchise fatigue. People are feeling fatigued of franchises. I think it also depends on how good the franchise is. Like if Marvel was still delivering the continuous amount of bangers that they were delivering in Phase 3, like if they were on like a winning streak, for example, let's just say that after that, like the first projects that were coming out from the MCU were the ones that I think were the top three best: Shang-Chi, Spider-Man No Way Home, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. If let's just say like those were like the first three projects of Phase 4 of the Multiverse Saga, I don't think we would be feeling as fatigued. But there's been an inconsistency that's been happening. Because with how Phase 4 started, you had Black Widow. Now, I thought Black Widow was a fine movie. I thought the ending got ridiculous, but for the most part, I thought it was a good movie. Shang-Chi was a great movie. Eternals came out. I don't hate Eternals, but third act just was way too long for me. Then we got Spider-Man No Way Home, which was, one of my favorite movies in the last few years. Not my favorite movie in the last few years, but one of my favorites. Then you got Doctor Strange to the Multiverse of Madness, and I like Doctor Strange to the Multiverse of Madness a lot, but I recognize it's not everyone's cup of tea, and I think, if they just gave Sam Raimi more creative freedom, I think it could have been one of the best Marvel movies, because the Sam Raimi stuff that he obviously had creative freedom with was the best stuff about that movie. But then you get Thor: Love and Thunder, which was iffy. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, I like that movie. Like Eternals, though, it didn't need to be as long as it was. Then you've got Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, iffy. Then you got Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, one of the best Marvel movies to come out post-Endgame. Well, one of the best in general, in my opinion. But then you got the Marvels. And look, I'm not saying the Marvels is going to be bad or anything. It could be a good movie, but I don't have high hopes for it. I'm kind of iffy on the Marvels. There's just some shots that just don't look that great, in my opinion. Could it be better than the first Captain Marvel? I think so. It definitely looks like it's going to be a more fun movie. But again, I think we've also learned that fun doesn't always mean it's going to be good. Back to the article. They already think that. He agreed. This is the interviewer, I guess. I think this is... No, I think this is still Martin Scorsese. This is what happens when I talk. I pause and talk. They already think that, which means that we have to then fight back stronger. And it's got to come from the grassroots levels. It's got to come from the filmmakers themselves. And you'll have, the Safdie brothers and you have Chris Nolan. You know what I mean? And hit them from all sides. Hit them from all sides and don't give up. Let's see what you got. You continue. Go out there and do it. Go reinvent. Don't complain about that. But it's true because we gotta save cinema. By the way, let's just remind everyone: Christopher Nolan made 3 Batman movies. But I get where he's coming from because Christopher Nolan has fantastic work that's not comic book movies. Oppenheimer, Inception, Interstellar. Obviously, this is happening because Martin Scorsese's got Killers of the Flower Moon. I can't wait for this movie. I honestly can't. I think it's going to be a fantastic movie. Going to be a very long movie, though. But I can't wait. It's going to be the first time that Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio, who are two of Scorsese's main guys, his main stars, are in a Scorsese movie together. Also, Brendan Fraser is going to be in it, and I can't say no to more Brendan Fraser. And while we were quick to call out Scorsese for naming Nolan, who directed Dark Knight trilogy, we're willing to bet he was probably talking about Nolan's flicks like his most recent, the hit biopic Oppenheimer. Yeah, Oppenheimer needs if Christopher Nolan don't win an Oscar for Oppenheimer, I don't know if he ever will, because to me this is like his best chance of winning an Oscar. That was a phenomenal movie, fantastic movie. The filmmaker, who's on the press cycle for his upcoming film Killers of the Flower Moon, went on to reveal that Warner Brothers wanted one of the 2 leads of his 2006 Oscar winner, The Departed, Leonardo DiCaprio and Matt Damon, to live. In Scorsese's eyes, that wasn't a creative call, but one the studio wanted to make to milk the movie for sequels. What? Now, I don't know. Pawn. I forgot to say because I didn't read this part ahead of time. Spoiler for anyone who has not seen The Departed. The Departed's been out for 17 years. By the way, Departed's my second favorite Scorsese movie of all time. Goodfellas is my favorite. But yeah, obviously at the end, basically just got spoiled. What they wanted was a franchise, he said. It wasn't about a moral issue of a person living or dying. I mean, honestly, I have no problem with Scorsese's ending. The first time I watched the movie, I was a bit iffy on it, but once I rewatched The Departed, I was fine with the ending. The thing is like, I feel like you really should not have to milk every franchise. Here's the thing to understand: not every movie should have a sequel. Not every movie needs to be a product. There's this weird belief that people have that everything needs to be a trilogy, everything needs to have a sequel. Look at the Terminator franchise. After Terminator 2 Judgment Day, they should have just let the franchise be. I think that was the intent that James Cameron wanted to have. But then you got all these sequels that are coming out that keeps like undoing the previous movie or previous sequel that's not T2 Judgment Day, and it just does not turn out good. That's the thing. Not everything needs a sequel. Some things are just better left alone. Yeah. I mean, let's be real here. We like Home Alone. I'm fine with just having Home Alone and Home Alone 2 Lost in New York. Do we really need all these other Home Alone movies that are just not as entertaining, that doesn't have as likable and charming characters as the first 2 movies? Do we really need that? I mean, if you have a great idea for a movie, it can work. I mean, Top Gun Maverick was a fantastic sequel, but it took a while, I think, for that idea to come out. Same thing with Cobra Kai, to be a sequel to the original Karate Kid movies. It took a while for that to happen. Sometimes things take a while, but again, if you don't have an idea in mind, if you don't have the passion for it, don't do it. Like, that's just what I think. And look, unfortunately, some things you just can never get a sequel to. I mean, I'm going to be honest. When it comes to Kevin Smith's Dogma movie, I know people would like to see a sequel to that. Now, there's a whole rights issue with that because the Weinstein Company, for some odd reason, even though Harvey Weinstein's in jail, he still has the rights to Dogma because, in order to save the movie, because Miramax didn't when Bob Iger owned Miramax at the time, he felt uncomfortable. Michael Eisner, not Bob Iger, Michael Eisner. Did I say Bob? I don't remember. When Disney owned Miramax, they felt very uncomfortable releasing Dogma because of the pushback they were getting. So Harvey Weinstein basically created another company in order to keep that movie and then distribute it to Lionsgate. And because of some odd reason of deals not getting renewed with Lionsgate, the Weinstein Company held on to Dogma. Now, a week before the news broke out, the Me Too stuff with Harvey Weinstein came out, he called Kevin Smith and was like, "Hey, let's do some Dogma projects." Like obviously that was Harvey Weinstein's way of trying to see if Kevin Smith was still loyal to him, because Kevin Smith had worked with him for many years until they had a fallout in 2008. But yeah, obviously because those rights are still in the hands of the Weinstein Company, despite Harvey Weinstein being in jail. Who knows where we're going to get Dogma projects? But let's be real here. Even if Kevin Smith were to get the rights of Dogma back, I don't think you should make a sequel. Because first of all, Alan Rickman, who played the voice of God in the Metatron, is dead. Unfortunately, he's been dead since 2016. I don't know if Ben Affleck and Matt Damon would come back for a sequel. I mean, I know their characters, spoiler, if you never saw Dogma, their characters got killed off. But even if they found a way to bring them back, I don't know if they would come back and do it. I think Ben Affleck and Matt Damon are more focused on their production company right now. The actress that plays Bethany, Linda Fiorentino, has been retired for ages from acting. So they're never obviously going to make a Dogma sequel, but honestly, I don't think they need to make a sequel to Dogma. I'm fine they never do. There's some movies that don't need a sequel. Lost Boys is one of my favorite movies from the 80s. That movie, with the vampires and all that. Yeah, Corey Feldman starred in it. I know they made some sequels too. I think they were direct to DVD sequels. I heard they weren't as good though. I don't know if I'm ever going to see them, but I don't think I need to. I'm fine with just having one Lost Boys movie. While I'm glad we're finally getting a Beetlejuice 2, it would not have been end of the world if we didn't get Beetlejuice 2. I still love the first Beetlejuice. Are there some movies that I wish we got sequels to? Yes, I do wish we could have seen a sequel to The Amazing Spider-Man 2 that could have been better. I wish we could have seen Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4. But again, not everything needs a sequel. Thank goodness the Dark Knight trilogy did not continue the Dark Knight series after Dark Knight Rises. I think that movie ended on a fair note. That series on a fair note. I didn't even see the second Pacific Rim. So I don't even know how I feel about the first one yet. Who? Martin Scorsese or Kevin Smith? Yeah, by the way, Roman Polanski is another piece of garbage human being. Just yikes. He also talked about how content is defined in the streaming era, even as his Killers of the Flower Moon is being co-distributed by Apple TV. He referred to some of it as manufactured content, saying it really isn't cinema. It's got to come from the grassroots level. It's got to come from the filmmakers themselves. Which I know people will call out Scorsese because, yeah, Apple TV is obviously co-distributing his movie. Netflix, it was the same thing with The Irishman. Irishman was out in theaters for a few weeks. Then it's been on Netflix since then. It's almost like AI making a film. Oh, we're back to AI, he said. And it doesn't mean that you don't have incredible directors and special effects people doing beautiful artwork. What does it mean? Look at these films. What will it give you? Aside from a kind of consummation of something and then eliminating it from your mind, your whole body, So what's it giving you? Scorsese has, of course, come out against blockbusters before, igniting quite the debate. They said Marvel movies are not cinema, which the likes of Kevin Feige and James Gunn pushed back against. So Killers of the Flower Moon will hit theaters on October 20th. I will see that movie in theaters. I don't care how long it is. It will be released on Apple TV Plus at an unspecified date following its theatrical run. Yeah, I'm seeing it in theaters. I ain't gonna spend money on Apple TV. Oh, is this breaking news? Let me see. Well, I mean, I know they have the authorization of vote. I just don't know, like, are they gonna be striking or not? Yeah, that's like a near unanimous though. Hold on. So I mean, when it comes to Martin Scorsese's comments, I know a lot of people give him shit for it. Part of my language, but I'm gonna be honest. I can't blame him. Look, I love franchise movies. I love comic book movies. I love action movies. I love a lot of franchises. But he's got a good point. There's more to cinema than just these movies. Look, there's been a lot of movies that are not big blockbuster movies that I've enjoyed watching in theaters. On National Cinema Day, I got to see Vertigo, Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo, on the big screen. And that was incredible to watch. I love that experience. I got to watch, yeah, he didn't really even mention, like, the thing is, it's like people think, oh, he's talking about Marvel again. Because he's got an agenda against comic book movies. The thing is, it's that I get where he's coming from because it's not just Marvel, Star Wars, Harry Potter. The thing is, and we kind of saw this when David Zaslav made a comment saying Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings are underused IPs, and it's like the thing is they don't always need to have stuff. If you have a good idea for something, or there's like something that comes out that you can make a series or movie off of it. And yeah, I get it. Like people want to use the IP. The thing is, if you don't have a good idea, don't make it. Because then you're just giving mediocre movies after mediocre movies. Look, not no franchise is perfect. Every franchise has that one movie that just doesn't turn out all that good. I mean, look, everyone thought the Middle Earth movies were unbeatable. The Lord of the Rings was the perfect trilogy. Then the Hobbit movies came out. Look, I like the Hobbit movies, but not everyone did. Harry Potter, everyone loved the first 8 Harry Potter movies, or at least liked them. Then the Fantastic Beasts movies came out. Most people liked the first Fantastic Beasts movie. Okay. But then Crimes of Grindelwald came out. And that got a mixed to negative response. People used to think that they used to think Marvel was unstoppable. First of all, Marvel wasn't always unstoppable. You had a few Marvel movies before Phase 4 that weren't all that good. Thor: The Dark World, Iron Man 2. But I get what people are coming from when they thought the franchise was mostly unstoppable because most of the movies were at least good. But at a certain point, if you're just being so inconsistent, if you're not delivering, what's the point? What's the point of continuing the Fantastic Beast movies when the last two weren't exactly all that well liked? And the thing is, the box office kind of told us that, yeah, these movies aren't quite landing. Transformers, the same thing with the Transformer movies. At a certain point, the Transformer movies stopped landing with general audiences. And it got to the point where even when you had a good movie like Bumblebee come out, it didn't do that well at the box office. I mean, yeah, well, not saying it was a box office bomb. It did do pretty good because it had a smaller budget. But compared to the other Transformer movies, it didn't make nearly as much. And look, I wouldn't mind watching more independent movies in theaters. I think the problem we're having is that a lot of these independent movies that 10 years ago, or maybe even 10 years ago, would have still come out in theaters. I think, 10, 20 years ago, I think The Irishman could have had a longer theatrical run. I think a studio could have taken it. And then we saw 4 years ago, or almost 4 years ago, that, it came out for a few weeks in theaters and then it went to Netflix. And look, I get it. There's some people who would rather watch a 3 hour and 30-minute movie at home than on the big screen. But let's remember, like back in the old days, there were movies that were like so long. Gone with the Wind was so long. Ben-Hur was very long. Trying to think like what else. Lawrence of Arabia was super long. Hamlet. Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet. Where he plays Hamlet from 1996. That was 4 hours long. That was a theatrical movie. And look, some movies that are over 3 hours long can do very well. Titanic made over $1 billion worldwide. Lord of the Rings: Return of the King made over $1 billion worldwide. Avatar: The Way of Water is over 3 hours, made over $1 billion worldwide. So, I mean, I know The Irishman is a lot longer than that, but still, Irishman, more people would have seen it in theaters if it had a longer run and people didn't know it was going to Netflix right away. Ay. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't really get it. And again, I think he's referring to all kind of franchises. Not everything needs a sequel, unless you really have a good idea, or it's like a risk worth taking, like a really good risk. I think it should be left alone. I really, really do. Let me see if there's anything else. If not, I'm probably gonna end it. Let me see if there's anything else happening in entertainment news. I don't want to make this like real long like I've done in the past. I've noticed that my last few streams have been really long. Not that that's a problem, because you know what? When I enjoy talking, I enjoy giving my thoughts to you guys, and you seem to enjoy it because you guys keep coming back, which I appreciate a lot. But I also do these streams very late, and I always want to make sure I get my nice sleep, especially because like I've been working again, and along with my job, I also do writing, and I want to keep track of what's going on with this writer strike. Well, not right. Well, this actor strike as well. So let's see what else is happening. Really, nothing else I think is going on. No new trails. I know the creator is coming out this weekend. I can't wait to see that. I think that's going to be a great movie. Killers of the Flower Moon. Does anyone have any movies that they're looking forward to this year that haven't gotten delayed yet? For me, it's The Creator, Killers of the Flower Moon, Hunger Games: The Ballad of the Songbirds, Wonka, and you know what? Screw it, Aquaman: Lost Kingdom. I don't care what people say. Like people, I know, like people like Casey Walsh, and I'm not the biggest fan of Casey Walsh. I think Casey Walsh. I don't think. It's not that I think he's a bad guy. I think he just gets very angry, very easily about stuff, and I think like he takes it too far. But like for him to like break that news and say it's like the worst movie ever. I mean, I looked at him like, I'm not saying it's gonna be a good movie, but it looks like it's gonna be at least an entertaining movie. Hopefully, it is. But yeah, nothing else about Martin Scorsese. I saw a lot of people were getting triggered by what Scorsese was saying, and it's like, this is my thing. This is what I tell people. What you enjoy, don't be discouraged by what other people think. That empowers you that you enjoy something and see the value in something that other people can't see. For me, for example, I talk about my love for Kevin Smith's movies. I know for some people, I've been watching some videos lately on YouTube of people kind of seeing if Kevin Smith's movies have aged well. I see some people kind of criticizing some of the movies, including some of my favorite movies from Kevin Smith. And the thing is, while they make valid points, I still disagree with them because I enjoy them. Now, I'll be honest, there's some that I think have aged better than others. I think Clerks, Chasing Amy, Dogma, and Clerks 2 are great. I think Mallrats is good, but not all that great. But I understand why people have complaints about it. But I still find it hilarious. I don't. Same thing with Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. It's not my favorite of his, but I still think it's pretty good. Clerks 3. I'll be honest. I enjoy Clerks 3. I know a lot of people have a problem because of the way some of the choices that Kevin Smith did. And I can finally address them on the live stream. Because it's been a year since that movie has come out. I didn't want to address it at the time because the movie just I knew that everyone was going to be able to see it because it was going to be in theaters for a couple weeks. Then it finally went on DVD. But obviously, the choices Kevin Smith made in that movie, spoiler if you haven't seen Clerks 3 yet, where he had Rosario Dawson's character, Becky, get killed off right at the beginning of the movie, and had Dante die at the end of the movie from a heart attack. I get those were controversial decisions. And look, when I first saw the movie, I was like, I didn't know how to feel about those decisions. At the same time, I still enjoyed most of the movie. And it felt like this was like the first time in years that Kevin Smith kind of went back to his classic roots that he went with Clerks, Chasing Amy, Dogma, and Clerks 2. Even Mallrats and Jay and Silent Bob. So, but I understand why people have complaints about his movies. I understand that, look, there are people out there who do not like the Dark Knight trilogy. That's fine. I strongly disagree with them. I mean, look, they may have valid points about The Dark Knight Rises, but I'll strongly disagree with them on Batman Begins and The Dark Knight because I think those are fantastic movies. I know there are people out there who probably think Empire Strikes Back is the most overrated Star Wars movie. I will strongly disagree with them. My second favorite Star Wars movie is not Return of the Jedi or A New Hope, even though I love those movies. It's Revenge of the Sith because I love that movie. That was my Star Wars movie growing up that I watched many times. That empowers me. So don't get triggered by what Martin Scorsese is saying, whether it's referring to Marvel, Mission Impossible, Star Wars, Harry Potter. Because guess what? You know what you like empowers you. Look, what I've been talking about on my channel lately, Alfred Hitchcock movies. I enjoy Alfred Hitchcock movies. Rear Window is one of my all-time favorite movies. If it wasn't for that movie, I wouldn't have gotten into movies the way that I have today. For the last 15 years, that movie has empowered me and has brought me into this direction. Now, I was like 12 years old when I saw that movie for the first time. I'm going to be 27 next week. Yeah, my birthday's next week, by the way. Going to be 27. But yeah, Rear Window was one of those movies, the original Karate Kid with Ralph Macchio from 1984. Those were the movies that got me into classic movies. That got me into 1980s movies, older movies. Now, like I let that stuff empower me. I love Martin Scorsese's movies. Goodfellas is one of my top 25 favorite movies of all time. The Departed, one of my second favorite Scorsese movie, one of my all-time favorite movies. Taxi Driver, I like that's one of his oldest movies. That's still one of my all-time favorite movies. And have I seen all of Alfred Hitchcock and Martin Scorsese's movies? No, there's some that I still want to watch. And there's some Scorsese movies that not everyone appreciates, but I love more. Gangs of New York is, I know some people might see that as one of his weaker movies. That's one of my favorite movies from Martin Scorsese. Same thing with from Alfred Hitchcock, To Catch a Thief. That's one of my favorite movies from him. I know some people might not think that, but I enjoy that movie. At the end of the day, you like what you like. So don't let Martin Scorsese's comments on Marvel movies disparage you. If you love Marvel movies, keep it up. I still love Marvel movies. Yeah, I know I said not a lot that Phase 4 and 5 has been a roller coaster, but I still love Marvel. Well, how Marvel's some of the Marvel products that we've gotten lately, even if they're not that good, that has not ruined my experience with Phase 1 to 3. I still love Captain America: The Winter Soldier, the first Iron Man, the Avenger movies, uh, Black Panther, all the Spider-Man movies, the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, Ant-Man. I still like Iron Man 3. Like, that's one of my controversial MCU opinions. I like Hulk a lot. I like Captain America: The First Avenger a lot. So, like, before I end the stream, all I'm gonna say is like what you like. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. If a director that you like, or whether if they're a big name director, whether you like them or not, says something, that's just their opinion. It's just their opinion. Everyone's got opinions. Film is subjective. Everyone's got an opinion. We're not going to enjoy the same stuff. But yeah, so that's all I got to say about the writer strikes, on the New Deal, on Martin Scorsese's comments, on what's going on with the actor side of things. Could video game actors go on strike? So, do I have anything to promote? So, as far as the channel goes, next weekend I will be watching The Creator, and I will be doing a review on The Creator. And I also plan to review my last Alfred Hitchcock movie from my Alfred Hitchcock miniseries, The Birds. So I will be doing a review on The Birds. And then October's coming. So what can we expect for October? So, some of the movies that I'm brainstorming, this doesn't mean I'm going to review all the movies. I plan to review Evil Dead 2. I reviewed the first Evil Dead last October. I also want to review the Mummy movie from 1999 starring Brendan Fraser. And I think I'm going to actually review a direct-to-video movie. I'm going to review Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. I want to review some more childhood movies. That's also why I'm going to be reviewing The Mummy, because that was the first PG-13 movie that I watched as a kid. But I also want to review Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. Review some childhood stuff. Scream 2. I want to review Scream 2. I've already reviewed Scream and Scream 6. Anything else? I'm not going to review, by the way, I'm not going to review every single sequel from movies that I reviewed last year. I don't think I'm going to have the time to do that. If I do, there might be some extra surprises for this review series. But I'm telling you right now, I don't think I'm going to be reviewing all the Halloween sequels. If I even do get to review any Halloween sequel, it's probably going to be Halloween 2. And I also want to review, maybe I might have to postpone this to November, but at least maybe the first Karate Kid movie I want to review in October. I do want to review the Karate Kid trilogy. As far as articles do, because I'm going to start promoting my articles on this channel. And maybe I'll do a thing where I do a stream talking about my articles and see what you thought. And these streams, maybe I'll invite people on, maybe I won't invite people on. So maybe for one of my streams this weekend, maybe I'll do a stream talking about my Marvel article, reading it to you guys and talking about it. Because I recently did an article on the concerns for Marvel. Before that, I did an article on Superman Legacy and what we know so far. So I'm going to plug it in again, the Movie Nerds, for check out. And please, don't just check out my articles. Check out my friend's articles. My friend created the Movie Nerds site. He does some reviews and articles. And I have another friend who also writes articles for the site. And by the way, he also writes articles for MovieWeb, my other friend. So if you're ever on MovieWeb, there's a good chance you might be reading one of his stuff. So here's the Movie Nerds link for anyone that wants to check out the Movie Nerds. And my next article for the Movie Nerds is going to be on the writer strike deal. Hopefully I get more details so I can get the article done this week. After that, maybe I'll do some Halloween themed stuff or spooky themed articles. Maybe I'll review some movies on here that I haven't reviewed on my channel that I might not get a chance to review on the channel. To kind of just spread it out some more and share with you guys. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. It's 2 hours, and I think I'm going to end it right now because I am tired, and I don't think I have a whole lot more to say. So thank you for tuning in. And what do you guys think about the writer strike being done? Are you glad it's done? Do you hope that ratification goes well? Do you guys think the actors are going to get a deal soon or in October? And do you agree or disagree with Martin Scorsese's comments on film franchises? Let me know in the comments down below. And I want to thank you guys for watching the stream. Now, please like and subscribe already if you haven't. Please share this with someone that is very invested into these strikes. And if you haven't already on the channel, please check out my Alfred Hitchcock movie reviews. I reviewed Psycho on Saturday, so please check that out. And before that, I was reviewing Shadow of a Doubt and Rear Window. And I hope to see you guys real soon. Take care, everyone.